Good evening, everyone. Really excited to be in this session on rules of engagement in the 21st century with these three wonderful women and their takes on matters of the heart in this absolutely bewildering post-truth age. I often ask the young people I work with that what would their lives be if there were no social media? Or how would we behave? What would we do if we were not posting, sharing, or capturing things for social media? I think our life is so governed by, I think every moment is like, what am I going to curate from my experience today that goes on to my socials? So I think that's how our lives have become. So I would like to start by asking Stuti, Shunali, and Sohini on how would life and writing be for you if there were no social media?
Hi everyone, this is author Stuti Changle. I'd like to take this first. I believe that writing wise, it would have been quite a bliss to live in a world where there was no social media. Because the constant pressure to be there, to connect, to just put the right voice out there is just there.
Yeah.
You can't take it away from your life. But when it comes to the other side, which is actually once you've written the book, I think that is one thing that if you ace it, it becomes a weapon in your arsenal, and it becomes very, very easy to reach out to new people, especially to younger audiences, I'd say. And so I was someone who was very reluctant to be on social media because even to shoot a video for a while felt like, मेरे गाल दुख रहे हैं, like how can I smile for so long in front of the camera? But given today's day and age and the fact that this is something which has become a part and parcel of the process, you have to be there. And then after doing it for a bit, you kind of become, I would say not a master, but you kind of ace it in some ways. So in this world, it is very important, especially for a writer, it is something that you can positively use to connect with your audiences. But yes, the other side, when you really want to detox, write, be creative, find new ideas, it becomes very consuming. So a fine line should be there where you should know that, okay, this much I'm going to use it, but my creativity should not suffer because of that.
Thank you, Stuti.
I would like to add something to this. First of all, thank you all for being here, because without readers, we don't have authors. We have magic with words, but we need somebody to appreciate that magic. So thank you for being here. And when it comes to social media, I am absolutely okay talking about my books. Not that my books can't speak for themselves, but it's still okay talking about my books. But when the expectation becomes that you want a kind of window to my personal life, like how we are posting about where we eat, what kind of cultural programs we've been attending, which movie we've been attending, then it becomes too much of a pressure because, authors are also private people. So that is a little bit of complaint I have with social media. Otherwise, reaching out to everyone and people reaching out to me, that's a wonderful thing.
You want to?
Well, I
share
think
your
that,
take?
when you can't fight the tide, you have to join the tide. And I joined the tide a while back. I am fairly active on social media. First, I was active on Twitter at a time when opining didn't come with consequences. But now we live in an era where you have to be really careful about what you say. And so I transitioned from Twitter to Instagram. And one thing is for sure, that everything is performative. Yep. And everything you see on Instagram, whether it is happy families or flawless skin or people in love, it's all filtered out. Even though we know this, the pressure that is putting on younger people is far too much. It's pernicious. And for writers, the one thing that irks me about social media, and that's part of the reason I'm active on it, because I do a fair bit of writing, and I know that posting about it and being regular with your posts will get people will get you reach. But you know, writers shouldn't have had to be performers. And that is where my problem with social media exists,
I
even though I'm a part of
absolutely
it
agree.
myself.
Absolutely agree. Very well
Agree.
said.
Yes.
You're saying about writers, I would say even performers shouldn't need to be able to perform on social media. So just taking on from that, we hear so many new terms in the dating universe nowadays, right? Ghosting, breadcrumbing, benching, orbiting, situationships, and now intermittent relationships, just like intermittent fasting. It's just really
We have weekend marriages also in
yeah,
Japan.
yeah, absolutely.
You're married
So,
only for the weekend.
so I think these words and ideas are also finding ways into your books. I found like a bit of these ideas in your books as well. So just tell us how these new dynamics of the dating universe, what opportunities is it throwing up for authors like you?
Okay, so please go ahead.
Shoini,
Please go
go.
ahead.
Okay. I think what's happening today is a problem which we can discuss through our books because, like I said, books can speak for us. So there is this book that I have just had published, which is The Dandelions Have It. It's there at the store also, I think. You can check it out later. This is about the coming of age story of a hedgehog. And it has lessons which are relevant for all of us. So I would say it's a book for the young at heart. But here, I think specifically, I mean, I wasn't conscious when I was writing the story, but when this theme was set for this session, I thought that we had some very relevant sections here. So if you're okay with it, I'll just read out one tiny section, and then I'll context it to what the problem with social media right now is. Okay? So there is Quillo, like I said, is a hedgehog which has been adopted by a quirky family of animals. And so he has a mentor who is Loni, a vegan wolf. Now Quillo is really lucky that Loni is vegan, otherwise there'd be trouble. So this is the morning after he's just been adopted by this family. So he's very excited. He's had a good night's sleep in comfort, so he's very excited. What shall we do today, Loni? Loni, wake up. Loni opened one eye slowly. Good morning, Q. He calls Quillo Q. You aren't fully awake yet. Quillo tried to push Loni's closed eyelid up with his tiny paw. I am now, I am. Loni yawned, stretched. Why the rush? There's so much to do with you. Loni smiled, nuzzled the prickly ball. Tell me what your heart wants. Now, this is where you'll see the relevance soon enough. Heart? What is heart? Where's my heart, Loni? The wolf laid his nose on the point of Quillo's chest, where he felt the beat. Here, feel the throbbing? That's your heart's music. It says, I am, I am. Quillo briefly felt his heart, then dismissed it, pointing to his stomach instead. This is where it hurts, Loni. It means I'm hungry. That is most important. Now, with social media, precisely I think this is the point that we are listening to the body. There is so much that is available of our personal lives that the physicality comes in before everything else. So you are out to satisfy your bodily urges. You're not really interested in knowing the person you're going to bed with or having a relationship with. And that's where the problem sets in because there's a lot of baggage that each of us comes with. And what we are seeing on social media is a very curated image. And it has nothing to do with what happens indoors when no one's watching you. So that is the problem. You have to give it your everything, not just your body, not just your stomach.
What opportunities of storytelling do these dating dynamics spring for you as an author?
So, I write contemporary fiction, and so what I'm writing is relevant to the time we are living in now. And even if I'm rolling my inward eyes at what's happening around me, it's important for me to place my characters in this world that we inhabit today. And my novel actually, I see some young people here in the audience, they'll find it relatable. My novel starts with a 40-year-old woman who's recently divorced. It wasn't her choice to get divorced. And she is seeing her recent ex-husband's marriage on Instagram. It's happened very quickly. You're hurting, you're coming to terms with your new life, you're 40. But irrespective of what age you are, I think that when somebody else's happiness is on display while you are bleeding with sadness, it just exacerbates everything. I've seen with young children, and this is not a part of my novel, but I'm just touching upon the environment we live in. Kids today hang out, and a lot of their life and who they are meeting with is documented on Snapchat, so that the child who's not invited to the party gets to know that they are meeting without me. This is a kind of bullying. And of course, children are, we call Gen Z very fragile, but they look at the pressures they're living under. So it happens to my protagonist repeatedly that she discovers a lot of things through social media that cause a lot of anger and resentment and hurt inside her, including the lives of her friends. I think for single people today who have chosen to be single or who are single because life has dealt them that sort of a situation, seeing hashtag happy families on the weekend, okay? Love my husband on the weekend. And my protagonist is going through that too because she's single. So I just think that life is challenging enough without somebody constantly trying to run a trailer of the happy life for you to remind you what you don't have. And I'll tell you this, I'm sure that not everyone of us here will agree with it, but between my last book and now, a few years have passed. And when I saw my friends and the book launches online, I panicked. I said, oh my God, everybody's doing a book so quickly and I'm not. So if I'm not impervious to this, how much worse is it for people who are in their 20s and 30s? So yeah.
So since we were talking about all these terms, breadcrumbing, benching, and all of that, I say that there has always been two kinds of people, okay? Believers and non-believers. So believers are people who still believe in love, they still believe in romance, they still believe in finding that one person or maybe falling in love with themselves as that one constant person, right? You see so many people now talk about self-love, self-care, and whatnot. So the whole concept of this finding one person is still there, but it completely depends on whether you're a believer or you're not a believer in that school of thought. And it's not just Gen Z. I think forever there have been this demarcation. The terms were different. Earlier, that weekend thing was called, I think, a one-night stand, when you talk about the physical desires or just the sex part of it. But I think now that whole taboo about being open about your relationships is gone. People are much more empowered about the kind of relationships they want to do, and they are more empowered to talk about it, which was not a case earlier. So what I believe is that these believers and non-believers, okay, non-believers for me are people who don't believe in this very romantic concept of love, but maybe are driven by physical desires or something else, whatever suits them. But this share has changed. Like now that more people know that you can be a non-believer and live a life of that sort, many people are going very experimental. But there are still people like me in this day and age also. Like I am very young and I still believe in the magic of love. I still believe in romance. I'm still reading that kind of stuff. And yes, it could be a fantasy. Maybe romance of that sort doesn't always exist in someone's life. But there are still believers out there, as many as non-believers, I'd say.
I think this throws up a whole new kind of antitheses, so to say. And I think we see a lot of tussle between this believing and non-believing in all your books. So maybe you want to add a little bit on that.
I have exactly what she just said. You know, I happen to have exactly that paragraph in the Dandelions Have It Again. Like I said, it is a book for the young at heart. And it seems it is very relevant to today's theme. I didn't realize it myself earlier. So again, Loni and Quillo, they are on this journey to find rhododendrons for a nice juicy drink in the morning. And this is spring. So while they've had their fill of rhododendrons and they're coming downhill, so Quillo says, What's that mark over there? Quillo pointed to the bark of an old rhododendron tree. That, Loni looked closely. That was done by a human. It's a picture of a heart. This is kind of pre-social media days, you'd find them all over. We used to have our own egos displayed. X loves Y, that kind. That, Loni looked closely, that was done by a human. It's a picture of a heart. So that's what a heart looks like inside us. Yes, humans have a habit of leaving their hearts everywhere, on tree barks, ancient temples, solitary caves. Sometimes they even give it away to the wrong person. Remember Q, thank you. Remember Q, if you must give your heart away, give it to the one who can hold it well. For the heart is a very fragile thing. Held too tight, life seeps out of it. Held too loose, it withers from longing.
That's beautiful.
Very beautiful.
It's really beautiful.
Thank you. So that is exactly what she was saying, You choose the wrong person or you choose the right person, then you become a believer, if it is the right person for you.
I feel actually, deep down, we all want the same thing still. We all want love, we all want to belong. I think that it's my opinion, I could be wrong. I think it's not about being a believer or not believer. I think when it becomes the trend to be unavailable, and when you're going to go through relationships with one foot outside of the door, because there's constantly some new opportunity that might present itself, I think you'll never fully be present in anything that you do. And it's become harder and harder for people to express their emotion. And the new rules of engagement really are, firstly, don't be too available. Secondly, don't present your need first. Third, hedge. Always have some other option available. Have a plan B. Fourth, always at any given time, don't invest emotion in somebody so much that you may get hurt. And I think that if fear is going to rule your love life, and this has become a trend because everyone does it, everyone is 2-timing, 3-timing, calling it all sorts of names, and if that is going to be the ruling emotion, saving your heartbreak, then you're just headed towards a very empty life, actually. And so I think it's not a question of being a believer or not. I think we all deep down are believers, but we are too afraid to believe and we're too afraid to hold on to things because nobody else is doing that.
We've actually lost the ability to be fragile and vulnerable.
Yeah.
Express ourselves, our vulnerability.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like, we cannot be vulnerable anymore because of the curated life that we need to present. So if my life is not perfect, if my skin is not flawless, if I don't have the best of travel plans, then I am not the included one in my social group. And I think this is largely a problem with the younger audiences who are way too much on social media. And we are chasing validation so much that, in spite of focusing on ourselves to become complete first and then look for a safe relationship, we are giving that ownership to the other person, and then we are saying that, no, we don't want heartbreak. But if you fall in love, I mean, come on, how can it be without a heartbreak? Who said that the first time you're going to be open to someone, you will find that person that you were always looking for? But if you keep believing, if you keep showing up, like how you said, that you need to really be emotionally vulnerable and then believe that someone can be your safe space. But for that, first, allow yourself to love yourself first. Like, a lot of my readers would agree with that, and all of my books, they talk about becoming complete as a person yourself first, and then look for this person. And then you will not, be so desperate to just settle with whoever comes your way. You will be with someone who really believes in you, who believes in your dreams, and who is madly in love with you. But it takes time. It will take time and perseverance. But of course, now that you have so many options available and people are just swiping left, right, center all the time, it is hard to get lost in that noise. But if you believe, if that anchor is your heart, you will someday land up there.
I think there is just too much of other people's lives in our lives. And, I think earlier what would happen in a tiny neighborhood maybe. Now you're actually seeing what's happening across the world, across all lives, of all kinds of lives, and all the time, at any time of the day. So I think there's too much of other people's lives in our lives to be, to be fearing, to be wanting to be like them, to emulate, or, all these various things. Anyway, I'm going to move a little bit to another element of your books that I found, which I found. I found that nature offers a very calm and grounding presence in all three of your books. And it almost provides a very nurturing, protective space for your characters. And it's almost like, it's again an antithesis in this very hardcore, digital dynamic otherwise. And I know that, Shoini, you spend a lot of time in the
Yes, I do.
mountains, so maybe you want to add like a little bit of that to this answer.
Well, so here is a little bit of a peek into my personal life. I've also had a love affair, since we are talking about relationships here. So, and of course, as she just mentioned, I do live on the hills. I happen to do that now, but it didn't quite begin that way. So I have this book, which is about 10 years of my travel with a traveling friend on the Himalayas. I didn't do big things, but I kept traveling. But there is one bit here. This is about directly about my love affair, so please pay attention. We could always go back. At least that is what we tell ourselves. Do the places we have not done yet. Walk around Mount Kailash, Mansarovar. Pause a while on Kala Patthar to gaze at Mount Everest, the highest peak in the world. If the cash does not last, I'm most certain it will not, we could go back to stay forever. And it goes on. I don't want to read the whole thing. For that is what it has been, a late in life love affair with a ruggedly handsome, temperamental young man. It helped that my friend Sumita, somewhere in the audience, and I fell in love with the same man. In the last 10 years or more, we have trailed him doggedly. Not on Facebook or Twitter, sorry, it was Twitter then, X now, but in the open, in and out of the northern edges of this country, from the Zanskar Valley in Ladakh, through Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Nepal, Sikkim, Bengal, and Bhutan, to zero in Arunachal Pradesh. He, my love, has been indifferent, unaware of our existence even. Born of the tumultuous union of two vast landmasses and one of the youngest of his kind in the world, he is violent at times, unpredictable always. He is the Himalayas.
Wow. Beautiful.
I thought you were going to say the Dalai Lama.
No, thank you. No, I'm his neighbor, but no.
Who wants to go next?
Nature is becoming so rare, and for those of us who have seen what the planet looked when it was greener in a non-manicured manner, I think part of your soul longs for that. And being in nature is actually therapeutic. Tree hugging is therapy. During COVID, I was fortunate enough to live in Bombay in a building that still had a garden. And children just sitting at home, spending too many hours online, were going through their own kind of anxieties. So I would ask my girls to go and hug a tree, and they said, "You're completely crazy," You know how Gwyneth Paltrow is laughed at? So they were like, "Mom, this is not happening. You're really, really losing it." And I said, "No, just try it and walk barefoot on the earth." And it really can heal you, because the earth has a vibration and that goes through you. And so when I was writing my novel, growing up, I've lived for a few years in Mussoorie. And Mussoorie is trash now, but Landor is really special. And I go there a lot because I have some family in Dehradun. So I was writing that through a slightly difficult phase of my life. And I said, writing about Bombay gives me anxiety, and much of my book is based in Bombay. And then I was still tinkering with the story, it was in its first draft. And so I started writing about Landor purely for my own self, because when you write, you travel, and you relive your journeys. And every time I would sit and write, in my mind, I would be in Landor. And just writing that and recreating that tiny little cantonment town, which has so many DRDO laws, it's government-owned land, so it cannot be sold now, and you can't see private mansions being constructed there. So that's really the last of the untouched part of that range left by commerce, even though it's trashed now by too many tourists. But I think that just take yourself to the beach or walk in a mountain. I swear to God, your therapist bill will drop down, because I think young people all go to therapists now. So, yeah, right. And I know, like, Instagram has a lot of free therapy also, and ChatGPT is also a good therapist. I have tried it. But I think nature is truly the best therapist.
And that shows up in your book.
Yeah, unfortunately,
Quite a
I
number
haven't
of
marked out
times.
those parts, so I have nothing to read to you.
It's all right.
Actually, Landor is where A Sense of Magnolias is based, which you don't get to know in the initial parts of the book. But my protagonist in A Sense of Magnolias is from Landor, as the people find out later. And A Sense of Magnolias, the name itself came from a tree which I really drooled over. And the first time I was jealous about somebody, and which was actor Victor Banerjee. He has a splendid magnolia tree in his cottage in Landor, and you have to pass it on your way. Wherever you're going, you have to pass that cottage. And that tree is so beautiful when it is in bloom. And I said, my God, I want that cottage just because of that tree and that Alsatian at the base of it. So that is where A Sense of Magnolias actually took root.
But because of Instagram Reels now, there's a throng of people outside his house. There is not a place to actually walk in Landor any longer,
Oh my
because
God, oh my
everybody is traveling and posting about it. So people drive down, take pictures. There's a monkey menace, because monkeys are now getting restaurant food that people are feeding them. So the Landor you and I have written about actually no longer exists, in a sad sense.
So nature is like my favorite too. Like Paramita has already mentioned, she read my book, and all of my books are based in places which are not Delhi mostly. Like I've been based there for the last 10 years, and of course, I mean, when you live in a place like that where the AQI is so pathetic, you kind of wander off and you want to be at better places. And just like how they've said, writing for you is a beautiful way to relive every place that you've traveled to, at least in your mind. And it kind of gives you an escape. All of my books are based in different locations. Like one of my most known books called You Only Live Once is actually set in Goa completely, because I am truly smitten by the beauty of that place, and I keep going back. It's been 10 years. All of my other books, including Where the Sun Never Sets, it's based in Missouri. This new one, it's based between India and the US. And there's another book that I've written, On the Open Road, which is again about treks, about Himachal and all of that. And I always tell people jokingly that I'm an accidental romance writer. I actually started with a lot of contemporary fiction, and travel or contemporary issues were more of a part of my books. But as and when I progressed, I ventured a little more towards love stories, heartbreak, and all of that, because I think that also became a part of my life, and a lot of young people related to it. So yes, I mean, as a writer, nature is my go-to, and I say that you don't have to book that lavish vacation to be enjoying nature. A simple walk in your garden every day in the morning at, let's say, 7 a.m. does that. Just sit in your garden and look at the trees, observe them for a while. Just see the seasons changing through your window. Just walk out to your balcony or wherever you are. Since I am in Delhi, I just have a balcony. I don't have like a good terrace or like a big garden. And look at the sky. Look at sunset every day. Look at sunrise every day. And there is something that you will definitely learn from it, something that you'll observe in it. And as a writer, you get so much to write about. Like when you talk about resilience, what better way to look at resilience than changing nature, than winter? Then times when it's snow, when nothing moves, but things are still happening. So I believe that for me, nature has always been and will continue to be the biggest inspiration. And when I feel that creative block, I make sure that I travel out of where I am, because when you get out of your routine lives And not just nature. I'd say when you meet new people, take new experiences, you are back with so much. And you just have to write about it. Anyone aspiring to be a writer out here, people always ask me that I don't get ideas, or after one point, I run out of ideas. What should I do? Okay, this is your hack. This is what you have to do. You just have to spend more time in nature, and if you can afford, travel a bit. You need not take a very luxury, lavish vacation. That's not needed. I once did Udaipur in 6,000 bucks, like 5-6 years back. I took buses. I stayed at B&Bs. You know, go to hostel, meet the local people, see what locally that place means. If you're at a curated hotel, you would never get the beat of the place. Like today in the morning, I went to this place called Malik Ghat to see the Howrah Bridge. And I could have easily escaped it, but I did it. Because if I'm in Kolkata, I need to do something of that sort. Like I need to be by the river, even if for 15 minutes or 20 minutes. So yeah, that is who I am as a person.
Thanks for sharing that, Stuti, because really access to nature itself is becoming a huge privilege for a lot of us. I mean, just to find like a park that you can sit in and spend time, or just to have access to wildlife of any kind, or even trees. You know, I think in this city we still have some left, but that's also fast going. Because Sohini has been reading some bit from our books, can I ask Shunali to share something that she feels will vibe very well with the audience?
Well, I should ask the audience, do you want something fun or do you want something deeper? Young people in the front, you want fun? Your choice. Now, my choice, I'm catering to the youth here.
I think we have a mix, but just go for it.
Okay, fine.
Go for
Then
it.
I'll go for the serious one. Okay. So this woman is divorced at 40, as I mentioned, and she is going through a bit of a lonely day. I've come to accept that Arjun is never going to call me. Arjun is a man she fancies. And frankly, the rest of the world is just a circus of jokers. I don't know how being single is elsewhere on the planet, but in India, it feels like missing the last lifeboat on the Titanic. I want to be a good person, and I hate to admit this, but what really gets to me is seeing happy families flaunt their joy all over Instagram. It's like being happy isn't enough anymore. They've got to make sure everyone sees it too. Hashtag blessed, hashtag family first, hashtag Sunday fun day. All carefully curated to remind you that their lives are perfect. Like right now, I'm lying on the couch pretending to read Susan Sontag's biography, but really, I am just doom scrolling. And there it is, another notification. Anjali and Kabir in Alibag, weekending with other blissful couples and their kids. I scroll further and it's more of the same. Laila in Gurgaon, Rupali in London, Raghav in Singapore. All married, all with children, all radiating that picture-perfect Instagram-filtered happiness. There is no better reminder of how much superior family life is to singledom than social media on Sundays. It's probably the quickest, most efficient way to feel sorry for yourself. I really should delete the app on weekends because those hashtag posts can be downright depressing. The autonomy of singlehood, self-sufficiency, etc., are just phrases coined by happily married people to make us feel less sorry about our lives. But let's be honest, it isn't all that it's cranked out to be. It's not like I don't enjoy my own company, because I do, mostly. But let's face it, you could be the most interesting person in the Eastern Hemisphere for 3 days straight, and you would tire of your own company. So how am I supposed to keep enjoying it? This last one. Oxford defines company as a fact or condition of being with another or others, especially in a way that provides friendship and enjoyment. That's right, another or others. Your own company's enjoyment is therefore a fundamentally flawed concept. By definition, it's a contradiction. On weekends, still I'm doing my best. I've been trying out small solo adventures around the city. Anyway, so now she's talking about what she does. On weekends, I went to Bandra Fort and came back with some pretty fantastic selfies. Then I went to the farmer's market. Anyway, she goes on a bit about that. Last week, I wandered along Carter Road watching the sunset from a bench dedicated by the late Kamal Mishra to his dearly departed wife. Sinduri. You know, in Bombay, there are these benches donated by people who are no longer around, but to their loves of their lives. I couldn't help but wonder, will I ever find my own late Kamal Mishra? And how late will he be by the time he finds me? But nature speaks to you during your darkest hours. As I watch the waves crash against the rocks and spy on couples stealthily making out on mossy stones, I feel a flicker of hope. In Bombay, a city of 20 million, love is always a possibility, I realize. People find each other everywhere. On a train, at a cafe, outside a bank, at the doctor's, inside a cinema, maybe even at the undertaker's while negotiating for a coffin. It's only a matter of time before I do too, hopefully before I'm laid up in that coffin.
Wow,
Wow.
this is great.
I'm going to ask Stuti to read, but I'll just say that just like you find people anywhere, for Stuti, AI finds people on this very fancy new app that her character is working on. So would you want to maybe speak a little about the book and then read whatever you want to?
Okay, so interestingly, the lines that I'd underlined to share are not really the conversations they have on the app, but I'll still give a bit about the book. This book has two characters. Stars Will Guide You Home. This is my latest book, and they are matched by an AI-based dating app. And a lot of people ask me that why you have blended AI. So because ChatGPT is kind of influencing all of our decisions, how Google or any other tech invention did many, many years back. And so it had to be a part. I was very excited to write about it, and I wanted to do something in fiction. So I came up with a story where AI is going to make two ex-lovers meet, and they don't know that they are chatting with each other, but they have been they've been matched basis their preferences and according to what the algorithm knows about them. And so the story progresses. That is what the book is about. But there's this bit in the book that I'm going to talk more about. Because as a writer, my larger body of work is a place where I blend fiction and self-help. And these lines that I'm going to read are about the woman or the protagonist, Kiana. And this is what she reflects on after her heartbreak, because she used to always think that once her lover had left her, she would never find love again. But this is how she finds love. And it has nothing to do with your traditional definition of finding a person. So I'll read these lines and you'll know what I'm saying and how can one discover love in multiple formats. When people talk about love, they mostly talk about heartbreaks. But associating love with heartbreak alone is to compartmentalize it. Love is omnipresent, only if you choose to see it. Love is acceptance. Love is not judgment. What if love is the joy waiting for you to recognize it? The snowfall reminds me that there are things in life that can bring you instant joy even when you've hit the lowest point in your life. Like the smell of the earth when the season's first raindrops fall, or the wind that you feel on your face when you lean out of a car window. The warmth of a hot cup of ginger tea on a cold winter morning. The sound of children playing and laughing in a park. The calming views of the 5 a.m. sunrise and the 7 p.m. sunset that paint the sky with hues of orange and pink. The tickling sensation of sand slipping through your toes as you walk along a beach. The smell of freshly cut grass and the sound of crickets buzzing all night long. The love in your mother's eyes every time you see her. The gentle melody of rain tapping against the tiles on your veranda. The image of a field of sunflowers dancing in the spring breeze. The heady scent of flowers. The thrill of speeding down the highway with your favorite tracks playing in the background. The longing to meet your loved ones when you've been away from home for way too long. If you trust the universe and its processes, there are 100 little things that can spark joy. Can you find meaning in this endless and eternal process of life? Because the meaning of life is in living the small acts of kindness, compassion, and selfless love. Can you find it in a stranger's smile, in someone's words of comfort, in a baby bird's first flight away from its mother? Can you find meaning in being completely immersed in the present moment? If you succeed in finding meaning and hope in kindness, in gratitude, and in deeper appreciation for the goodness in humanity, you will want to live. So basically, this is after she was contemplating death, and then she's lived through something, and these are the experiences she has, and she writes about it. So hence this line. Stop waiting to be loved, to be wanted, to be cared for by someone else. You should do that favor to yourself first.
Thank you, Stuti. I just wanted to ask Sohini, I don't know what you wanted to say, but I'll just say what I felt because I read the Magnolias, that book, and I found that this tone was there in a lot of the emails that your characters write. And in fact, there's a lot of reflection that happens on what they write to each other, and a lot of it is about life and loving and how to love. Do you want to speak a little bit about that?
So a sense of magnolias actually took root in my mind, like I said, after I saw that magnolia tree, but even after some years after I saw it first, I didn't do anything about it. But during COVID, when the physical confinement was very real, I wanted to actually see if I could develop a story where the male and the female protagonists do not get to meet for a certain length of time. And that is when you actually try to know the person. You know, Ruskin Bond had said something very interesting once, and I remember it, though not the exact quote. He had said that happiness is like a butterfly. So you have to stretch your hand out and wait for it to land on your hand. And if it does, it might just stay for a while, or it might fly away. There's no holding it. So you just have to let it come to you. So I wanted to test that theory in A Sense of Magnolias, where I have a male protagonist and a female protagonist who are both attempting to get into, to become faculty in a central university somewhere in north of India. I don't reveal that. And soon after that, COVID happens. The male protagonist gets the job and the lady doesn't. But it is kind of love at first sight for the male protagonist. So all he gets out of the person, of the girl, who is very broken, as he would find out later. All he gets is an email ID. So based on that email ID, he has to treat this woman like a butterfly. Because if you are going to write one wrong sentence, she'll block you and move on. And she's not shared her phone number. So there is that. And you don't know where she is. Essentially gets the idea that she's from the south of India. So there are two parts of the country, and this is COVID, and there is no way he can go looking for her. And so he starts on this journey of writing emails to her, and slowly, with the magic of words, like I said, I've always believed in the magic of words. So with the magic of his words, with his caring and nurturing, she gets transformed. Now, whether they meet again or not, that you have to read The Sense of Magnolias to find out. But essentially, all of us are carrying baggage. And most of us are broken. There's a very, I would want to lighten the moment by a mention of my nephew. He was, I think, 3 or 4 years old, and he wanted to share his toys with me. He was heavily into cars. So he had this whole dabba of cars. He said, "Aunt, you want to see my cars?" I said, "Yeah, get them." So he got them. And believe me, he had some 50 to 100 cars, toy cars of different models, different makes, different prices. One common thing about them, not that they were cars, they were all broken. He had taken apart everything, spokes, wheels, doors, whatever he could take out. He was heavily into this engineering of toy cars. And so everything is broken, and that is who we are. All of us are broken some way or the other. Some of us can't handle it, so we end up showing it to somebody. Some of us go on with it for the rest of our lives. But what happens is, that is baggage. Now, Stuti, I had read about how she loves traveling, and even before I met her, actually. And she mentioned going from McLeodganj, not exactly going from McLeodganj. She's been to McLeodganj, she's been to Goa. Now, there is one thing that A Sense of Magnolias also deals with in one of the letters, So the boy writes to the girl asking about baggage. He says, what do you pack? He is a trekker and she is overweight, possibly obese. We don't know that from the story. But she is very much broken, obese, and she hasn't trekked in her life. And so he is a trekker and he talks about what you pack in your backpack. Now, Stuti has been to McLeodganj. I'm sure she packed her backpack well. Now, if she wanted to take the same backpack to Goa without taking out anything from it, would it be a happy time in Goa? Yes or no? So, why not? Because McLeodganj has a different weather. It is a different place altogether. So, you would probably be packing, winter caps and woolens and good shoes.
And you have to walk a lot, so you better pack your shoes,
Good
not
shoes,
your stilettos.
Trekking shoes, not
Yes.
stilettos. Yeah, just coming from my book title, Zanskar to Zero, no stilettos in the Himalayas. Yes, you can't use stilettos. So she is willing to shed whatever is in her backpack in order to be able to have a good trip in Goa. What we don't do is when we move from one relationship to another, we carry that same backpack with us. We don't shed it. We don't take out anything from it. So when you are meeting a new person and that person happens to sound, even one sentence from that person happens to sound like somebody you've known and hated or somebody who has given up on you, that is baggage that you are carrying. And in the digital media, you don't forget. Like Shunali, she was reading out, you don't forget. People keep reminding you, this is what you had, this is what you had. So that baggage spoils all your future relationships. And that is where Sense of Magnolias, I think, has touched many readers' chords, because this is something that we all feel.
Shunali, I wanted to ask you that Nayantara's mom, her character, I think, was really unique. I mean, being an activist and a change maker. And I think her role is much like this role in her life where she's almost holding up a mirror or being like her inner conscience. Would you like to speak about that a little bit?
Yeah, I think that somehow the protagonist's mother is more popular than the protagonist. And I deliberately wrote a protagonist that's not very easy to like, because I just like to challenge myself, and I said, let's make somebody. I'd read a novel, Mrs. March, I think it was called. Of course, she was a psychological case study, and I said, what fun if I can create a character that I don't really like, and of course, I'm now testing my luck with my readers. But her mother is this really strong figure who has dedicated her life to fighting for the environment. She has won awards, she's on the cover of magazines, and her daughter, now in order to survive after divorce, she wants validation from the same society that rejected her after she left her famous husband. So imagine, today you are married to a man who has money and who has status. And then tomorrow, after your divorce, society only chooses to be his friend because you're a nobody without him. So she says, oh, how do I become a somebody? Again, she wants validation. So for that, she wants to revive her PR company. And when you do PR, what is PR? PR is about taking lives and polishing them and presenting a very different kind of a manufactured image to the world. And her mother is the opposite of that. Her mother is her own person, and a person with a lot of inner strength and a power of conviction. And she's working to change the world. And this woman, now to make money, is working with an arms dealer. She's working with a socialite. She's working with some unethical pharma agency because she thinks that the means justify the ends. So I actually wanted to create that contrast. And of course, her mother lives in Landor, so all the saner bits. The other thing is, and I see that in myself as well, we are all, at least in urban metro cities, living life in a really fast lane, even without leaving our homes. You're on a phone call, you're planning something, you're booking a holiday, you're attending to your duties as a woman, definitely you are. We play so many roles. And then you're writing, networking, whatever you want to call that. There is really very little time to just pull yourself back and reflect. Even when we attend a concert, we are trying to film it, right? Yeah. We are not really enjoying the music. So, or with the sunrise, you know, I remember I was in the North Pole recently, and the sun literally sets for a fraction of a second, it bounces back up like a boiled egg, okay? And how do you think I was viewing this? From my phone. And I wanted to, I mean, I was really frustrated with my own tendency to do that, but it's become a natural reflex, right?
Yes.
So I just think that I keep taking my character to this place near her mother, because that's where she actually thinks and becomes. So we are not in touch with ourselves. How will we be in touch with a lover?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, before I open the panel to the audience, I have one last question. For both Stuti and Shunali, your books have a queer person in a very deep, trusting friendship with the main character. And, and they have a very warm relationship, a very deep relationship. Tell us about this rise of the queer friend slash ally in modern dating. I mean, even if we are in the age of AI.
Okay, that's a brilliant observation from the book. But you know, before this book, I'll come to this book. There's a third book that I'd written, Where the Sun Never Sets, where again I have written about a character who's queer, but I couldn't do it right. I'm telling you, very honestly. Because by that time, I had not really interacted with someone or had someone who could really tell me what their vulnerabilities or what their, I'd say, strengths and weaknesses are. And so this character was completely based on a perception of what I feel a queer person would be like. And so I didn't do it that great. And I took that feedback seriously. Like a lot of readers wrote back to me and they said that, you know, the book is brilliant, but you could have done this part better. And it stayed with me. You know, as someone who's a writer and who's a growing writer, I want to write more books. I take feedback very seriously. And when it comes from serious readers, so I said, okay. And then luckily in this time, I happened to befriend a person. And that happened completely by chance. That's serendipity. It's not that because of book research, I was talking to someone. And I got to know a lot about their story. And then I thought, Stuti, why not try this again with more sensitivity and in a better way where people connect with it and also they don't feel offended as to some things that you've written. And so the character of Zine is born here. Kiana, who's one of the main protagonists, he's her really good friend. And I'd say as a society, we are progressing towards a world where we are becoming more open about it, where we are finally talking about it, where people are finally coming out of the closet, as they say, and they are, declaring, and people are more open to learn about sexuality. I'd say, for me, it was more like I want to make this a part of the mainstream literature as well. Like, what I write goes to a lot of people. Okay, my books have sold lakhs of copies, and not just in tier 1, in tier 2, tier 3 cities. So as a writer, if I'm going to write about this, more people will get to know about it and will develop that sensitivity. And I really wanted to do it for that reason, that it reaches at the grassroots levels as well, and people understand this better. So I think as writer, it's also your responsibility to sometimes talk about certain things in a nicer way, and when you talk about it in a friendship way and not really sort of a random way, since friendship is the kind of emotion that everyone connects with, it is easier to pass that message on. And that's the reason I did it, and I did this time with a lot of sensitivity and sensibility, and it turned out great, and I'm happy about it.
So yeah, there is a very important queer character in my novel who is my protagonist's alter ego. He holds a mirror to her whenever she's doing something wrong. I've known some friends who are queer. Some are still in the closet even with me. They haven't even come out to me because I think society can be very unforgiving still. And but I think that even without talking to them about their insecurities, I think we all human beings are perceptive enough to see how their life is and how much of their life they have to conduct in such secrecy, in chilling secrecy actually, that I just wanted to sort of it's become very, it's in a lot of us know people who are now gay or lesbian. And I just wanted him to be there because I find that there is a softness uh, in queer characters who I've personally known. I can talk to them about girlfriend things also, and I can talk to them about man things also. And my husband always makes fun of me. And he says, oh, you and your friends, you only must be sitting and talking about me. And I've said, but you're not so important, you know. But anyway, I mean, jokes aside, I think that I really enjoy the company of my friends who are queer. And the yin and yang is more balanced than toxic masculinity that you see in a lot of men. So I just had that, and I sort of had an idea of their inner struggles without having discussed it really.
Thanks,
I
Shunali.
think actually what makes you take to them is their openness and their vulnerability. Because that is something we are trying our best not to show the world. We have this very curated image of ourselves, which is like, all there. We've got everything we wanted to do. We have the best life possible. But this vulnerability that she has found in her friends, I think that is what we all need to have, in order to have meaningful relationships with anyone at all.
Okay, we have 5 minutes, and yes, all for questions.
So, hi everyone. It was lovely session. As someone who has grown up reading a lot of romances, kind of my favorite genre, and watching Bollywood movies, still waiting for Raj in my mustard field. How do we overcome the heartbreak that comes with finding out love and romance in life today is not what we actually grow up watching in movies or reading in our books? Basically, how to um, set expectations with ourselves with what we are reading is not actually, well, I know it's fiction, but not actually what we might get in life.
When you're driving on a road, are you preparing for an accident? Just go through life. This is life. And this is true for any age. It's not that only your generation is not finding their Raj in their mustard fields. Everyone finds their Raj, and then the Raj looks at somebody else and goes away, or you stop liking Raj. Okay. We haven't seen the part 2 and the part 3 of Dil Wale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge. We've only seen the happy bits. Okay. So there is an after the happily ever after, which looks different from what you're sold. So I think this is what she's saying. Sohini is saying, be vulnerable. It's all right. You'll get hurt, but you'll survive it.
We tend to do that. We tend to do that. We refuse to let go of things that should be in the past. We forget about brushing our teeth yesterday, right? So everything else is like that. Do you remember every time you brush your teeth again, every fresh morning, do you think, yesterday did I brush well? How many seconds did I take to brush? You don't, right? It's a fresh day for you. You're brushing again. Don't do it mechanically. Just, live in the moment. What happens is with Instagram and all of this digital media, we have too many things that are available. Too much is made available to us. But that is not how it should be. In that, you should be able to find yourself. First of all, what does like I said, Quillo was asked that question. What does your heart want? Who's your person? Your instincts should tell you. In fact, in the Dandelion's Habit, there is another section where they are talking about humans carrying books. So Quillo, by then he is a little grown up, so he can, stand some grown up conversations. It is possible to have that conversation with him. So he says, Loni tells him, the wolf tells him that, humans have this thing called books in their hand. And they refer to it when they want to know about stuff. So Quillo asks this very innocent question. He says, but can't they make out from nature? All that there is to know is there in nature. How is it that they need books? And Loni says, because they have forgotten how. So we have to get back there. You have to remember that we are also animals. We can tell ourselves, we have a lot of reasoning and logic and, TV screens and phone screens. No, we are at heart animals who should be listening to our own instincts. And that will guide you. Like she says, stars will guide you home. Your instinct will guide you home. And first of all, be happy with yourself. That is most important, because you can't seek yourself in another person. Everyone is different. And like somebody said, everyone is taken. So be the best version of you first, and then you'll find that, there is a perfect match out there somewhere. Okay? Or maybe more than one, yes.
I think they're very
Yes. Fingers
brilliantly
crossed.
summed up like everything that I wanted to say. So I will say something very generic since we are also running out of time. See, life goes on. Only 3 words. Not I love you. It matters. The more you will understand this in life, whether it is relationships, whether it is career, that job you couldn't find, that thing. See, life goes on. You will figure out something. But that doesn't mean that you stop being on the driver's seat, as what she said. You will still take your car out.
The question, three terms were used during the discussion: Gen Z, AI, and the impact of social media. A question to all three of you. Primarily, main, if I may say, the target audience of your writing is Gen Z and maybe increasingly over the next few years a Gen Alpha also. And there, more than social media, with AI now coming out, there is an increasingly blurring of fact and fiction. With what will that impact on this literature, especially targeted to Gen Z and increasingly Gen Alpha audiences?
If I may just, I would like to take that question. Uh, I have AI in mind, and I realize that all of us who are genuine authors, I don't think any of us is actually using ChatGPT yet to write our books, and I hope that none of us is forced to do that. You have to make it difficult for AI. That is my personal take on it, which is why, for the Dandelions Have It, I actually got down to making 40 plus mixed media collages with bits of paper, chili flakes, beads, wool, you name it. Now, this art, I can tell you, I'm not in that, special field of artists. I'm just a writer first and then everything else. But I have created something which I can guarantee you AI will not be able to create in the next 10 years. So that is the best that we can do, you know.
I believe that there has to be a conscious education for the younger people around how they consume media, and not just AI, but also social media, because a lot of what we see is doctored. In fact, AI is now being used to create those videos, and we all know that a lot of news that we watch, let me not spill the beans here, but you know what I'm talking about. So I think that is lacking, and we need that education. I think us as parents, or people who are parents to Gen Alpha, Gen Z, I'm myself a parent, but my daughter is very young, she's 3 years old. But I do consciously consider educating her once she grows up about being very conscious about what she consumes, and to know that everything she watches is not truth. But that is lacking, and the regulations, you read about it, a lot of government regulations that should be in place are not there in place yet. So I think it is also our conscious responsibility as parents, as citizens, to make more people aware about this, and there has to be education around what you consume might or might not be real, which is not there. I feel that that's something we are lacking.
Stuti, as a mother of a 18 and 23-year-old, I'll tell you best of luck with that.
Okay.
Okay, so our time is up, but one person had a. I think we'll go with ma'am. Yeah. Sorry, our time's up. Maybe you can catch them outside.
This is for Sohini. What would you say if there has been, and what kind of spiritual progression has there been from the author of Magnolias to the author of Dandelions?
That is a very interesting, very profound question. But I would like to answer it I would want to go earlier, because Zanskar to Zero, No Stilettos in the Himalayas, that book happened, the traveling happened before 2017. The book happened in 2017. And when I was traveling on the Himalayas, I realized that, we used to go from Tata Consultancy Services. So the holidays were short, the pressure was too much. So whatever you didn't finish before going, you had to come back and finish it. So it was constantly on your mind. And we would have our headquarters in Mumbai, and the boss sat in Mumbai, and every time it would be like, oh my God, he's going to call, and then what is going to say, and all the time he used to worry about that, sitting in Kolkata. But once you stood on the Himalayas, you realize that everything was so insignificant. You didn't matter at all in the scheme of things. So that is exactly where my spiritual growth started. And when I was writing The Sense of Magnolias, I was trying to put a whole lot of my thoughts into it, because I thought that, this generation really needed to hear something like, it's okay. Just to put it in 2 words, it's okay, but I put it into a novella. So even then, I was not exactly growing myself. My realizations were more profound. But when it came to the Dandelion's Habit, I would say that this is probably my best book so far, and this is me. Finally, I have a book which I can say is all me. So every line, every word that you read in the Dandelion's Habit, it will tell you what kind of a person I am. Apart from the story of Quillo, of course, all of us have a bit of Quillo and a bit of Loni in us. But I would say yes, thank you for that question. I really do occasionally look back at myself as an author, and I think growth is the most important part of writing, whether it is mine, the authors, or the readers. Thank you.
Thank you, Sohini. Big thank you to our audiences, and of course, a big thank you to all three of you for making this a very exciting.
Thank you for
exciting
being a
panel.
perfect moderator.
Thank you for being the perfect
And I
host.
hope we find more time and more life outside social media.
Of course.
Thank you. Thank
Amen
you.
to that.
Thank you. Good night.
A huge round of applause for our speakers here. Thank you. On that note, let us thank the festival partners, Goethe Institute, Institute Francis, Alios Fosse du Bengal, Antonym Collections, Glenburn Penthouse, Sunrise Pure. Refreshment partner, Cha Bar, Cafe Autumn. Gifting partner, Fluris. Hospitality partner, Kenilworth Hotel, The Park, Kolkata. Radio partner, 91.9 Friends FM. Institutional partner, Teachers Center and the Heritage College. Outdoor media partner, Balaji Ads. Event partner, Navkreet and 11 Events. Ladies and gentlemen, Sunrise Pure is our festival partner, and they have a stall set up right at the venue. They've introduced 2 new masala into their segments, the Chinese fried rice masala and the peri peri masala, and they're giving out free samples right from the stall. So if you're interested, kindly visit the stall, talk to the volunteers there, get your free samples. And they have also introduced a book with 250 stories across Bengal covering the Durga Puja in Bengal. So you may go there, take a sample of the book, take a look at the book, scan the QR and download the book for free. Ladies and gentlemen, we also have a session with Sunrise tomorrow, which would be the concluding session of AKLF from 7:20 p.m. Pujo special celebrating the Durga Puja of Bengal, co-presented with Sunrise. Thank you.